12, Romans 12 and verse 2. There is always a battle when we are about to do God's will. There's always a resistance on the part of the flesh to retard us, to restrain us from proceeding in God's will. And we need to be conscious of that fact. One more thing I'd like to tell you before I get into this verse is that I want us to notice that the King James Version and the verses that are in the King James are almost poetic. They lend themselves easily to memory, and whether it's because of our experience with the Bible or because of people constantly repeating these verses and drumming them into our heads, that it seems to have an existence of its own. The King James Version seems to have an acceptance that draws people to it over and above other versions. And I need to tell you that just dwelling on the physical verses of the King James is in itself something to be pitied, because in essence we have learned this morning and in other teachings that if we are to dwell on the physical, if our mind is fixed on the things that are physical according to Jesus Christ, then we are pitiable. We are to be pitied because we don't have access to the things that these physical shadows represent. And that is the truth of what we're seeking to reach forward or upwards to, that exist in a different level of existence. And I want you to start with me by just reading Romans 12:2. And be not conformed, the King James says, to this world. Now it's very close to what the original said in age. To say, and be not conformed to this world, is very close to, and be not conformed to this age, only in the true essence of what was written. The real word was age and not world, and therefore we should stick to that, and to remember that when we say world, it brings up connotations, it brings up an image to our mind that suggests to us that it is about those wicked people, that we not be conformed to the wicked in the world, that are in this world. But that is not what Paul intended to say. What Paul intended to say was that we should not be conformed to the things that are of the physical realm, including the physical verses in the Bible, that we not try to restrain ourselves, that we not try to guide and lead ourselves in things that are just in this realm and of this physical realm. Who is there? That you don't try to fashion yourself, that you don't try to conform to the things that you read as well in the Bible, because they're far greater in essence than we can in our own strength, which is what it's asking if you are to conform even in a physical sense to the things that are in the Bible, because that in itself is beyond our capability. So on one hand, Paul is saying, do not, and I'm not sure that you have understood what I'm trying to say, in the sense that Paul is saying, do not conform, do not adhere to things that are of the physical realm, which would also include the physical verses that are in the Bible. It's not between conforming to the things that are good and the things that are evil, but it's a choice between conforming to the things that are physical and conforming to the things that are spiritual, that are spiritually discerned. And what Paul is saying is that we not conform to the things that you can physically discern with your natural senses. No, the alternative to that is that we be transformed, that we be changed. And I want you to check the meaning of this in the Greek and the original word in 33:39. If you would, please. Metamorpho, to transform. Metamorphose. Who saw that word, metamorphose? Now, I looked up in the dictionary, and metamorphose is to be transformed by metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is a transformation as by supernatural means, not by physical means. Because if you're restricted to things that are physical, then you're not going to be metamorphosed. You're not going to be transformed by a supernatural means, but you are going to be transformed by your own natural capabilities. Who is there? And the essence of this word is that we be transformed by a method that is not natural. You see, it's a mechanism that is supernatural, that is greater than, that is outside of the realm of the natural. And metamorphosis speaks of a marked alteration in appearance, in condition, in character, and in function. It usually speaks of a process. Who is there with me? Metamorphosis speaks of a process, not a one-step thing, not a one-step function, but something that is in a sequence, a change that takes a sequence of events to bring about this alteration in character, function, and condition. Who is there? Now, what Paul is saying, if you look at the verse again in 12:2, it says, be transformed, that is, be transformed by supernatural means, which excludes all physical means, including the reading of the word. And it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, I said this morning that the renewing of your mind has to do with the fact of our mind being expanded, because we have come before things that are not natural, because we've come before things that exist in the spiritual ages. Who is here with me still? Now, the big thing that you have to see here is that since it is a process, and since we need to have an expanded mind throughout this process, that means that we need continued access throughout the process to the things that exist on the other side in the spiritual ages. Because as soon as your mind becomes unexpanded, then you are not going to be subject to a change by supernatural means. You are going to lose the ability to be changed by the renewing of your mind. You're going to come out of the process, out of the sequence that metamorphosis is. I wonder if you're still there with me. If you are to be transformed by supernatural means in a process by the renewing of your mind, then your mind must be continually expanded through the entire process. You cannot have an expanded mind today and have it unexpanded another day. We need to have an expanded mind on a continual basis. Now, the one condition that is necessary for an expanded mind is that we are able, that we have the capability, the capacity to come before things that are greater than my natural mind, which exist on the other side. And the only way that I can come before these things that exist on the other side is if I am submissive to Christ Jesus on an ongoing basis to something that is specific, a specific individual work. If you come out of your assigned course, if you come out of the way of the Lord, which keeps you in line with what God requires in our life, if you come out of that assigned course, then you are going to lose the capability of functioning in things that are greater than your natural mind. You're going to forget what you saw because you're no longer before them. So Paul is saying a lot greater things than is suggested by the verse, which we can only fathom if we allow Jesus Christ to detail the things that are intended by this verse. And if in fact we have an ongoing relationship with Jesus Christ to detail all the things that are related to this spiritual thing that is before us in this verse, we need to be in a continual process of being in a state of a renewed mind or an expanded mind, which means that I can function, that my mind can function in things that are greater than my natural mind have the capacity to function in. That is what this means. And to be transformed by this expanded mind indicates what is crucial, what is imperative, what is important for the transformation to come about is the fact that we see the things. That's the first condition. The second condition is that we submit ourselves to be connected to those things that we see, and that connection brings about our transformation. It's not just the fact of our knowing the things that are on the other side, but it's the fact of our being connected to those things that are there because we submit to them in Jesus Christ, and the transformation comes about because of that spiritual connection. Without a spiritual connection to an individual work, we have no opportunity whatsoever to be transformed or to have our natural nature reversed. Our physical condition cannot be reversed if we do not experience this spiritual connection to something that is non-physical. Now, when we are spiritually connected to the things that Jesus Christ have shown to us, then we are going to prove what is that good. What is, I want you to check that word with me, please, in the lexical aid. AIDS. Number 18, agathos, good and benevolent and profitable and useful. Why is it useful? Why is what we have been connected to resulting in our transformation and our reversal of nature, why is it profitable to others and to us? Well, it should be obvious. It's profitable to us because our nature has been reversed. It's profitable to others that we minister to, who will take the time to be ministered to, who have the courage to be ministered to by a Christian minister. It's profitable to them because they have the potential to be inspired into the spiritual ages to come before the spiritual work and Jesus Christ, depending on their condition, on their standing in Jesus Christ. So once we are experiencing this spiritual connection, then we can prove, we can see for sure what is profitable and good and well-pleasing, not acceptable, well-pleasing, and the complete thelema, choice, determination, and inclination of God. Not just will, but his choice, his determination, and his inclination for us. We are going to experience and we are going to prove that what he has shown us is really there for us, that we can function in those things that appear to be impossible to the natural mind that we seem to grapple with. Who is still there? We have to keep in mind that what is essential for us, one, that our mind be expanded to things that are greater than my natural mind can function in. That I can only function in them and exercise my mind in them if I am before these things, which only exist in the spiritual ages, in the heavens, if the spiritual ages is too heavy for you. And two, that I can prove, I can experience and prove to myself that these things are really there and not just in my imagination, because Christ gives me the ability to function in them if I submit to them. Perhaps you're not convinced, you're not persuaded to conform to what you see because your natural mind is telling you that this cannot be. It could be that. I don't know. You have to examine yourselves. You have to check yourselves to see what it is that is holding you back from submission to Jesus Christ. If you really were convinced that you are seeing Jesus Christ, would you not believe him? Would you not conform to the will of a mighty and living God? Of course you would. But your mind maybe is messing with you and convincing you to disregard and to discount, to make small and not give importance to the things that Jesus Christ is showing to you. I'd like you to go with me to 1 Peter, please. 1 Peter 1 and 13, where it says, consequently, gird up the loins of your mind. Prepare your mind for battle. Not just once, but on a daily basis. Not just when you're going into battle, but on a daily basis, that your mind be prepared every second of the day for the tricks of the devil, for the tricks of the natural realm that work to prove to us that what Jesus Christ is showing to us cannot really be real, that they must be imaginary. But you have to understand that your mind cannot function in the things that are on the other side. So therefore, to the natural mind, it must be an imagination. It must be something that your mind has developed, because your mind can't understand those things that Jesus Christ is declaring to you. Peter is saying, have an expanded mind. Let your mind remain expanded and be sober. Be constantly aware of those things that Jesus Christ has declared to you. Be sober, be aware of them. Carry them with you always. Why? Because you are in continuous submission to Jesus Christ, which allows you to have an expanded mind so that you can be sober, and the outcome of being sober is self-control, which is what we so badly need. We need to control ourselves from all the things that would take us away from Jesus Christ, and hope without wavering, to be in a state of constant expectancy of receiving and becoming those things that Jesus Christ have shown to us, towards the grace, the divine influence that remains in the revelation of Jesus Christ, and that is given to us when we're taken to the spiritual ages by the Holy Ghost to see Jesus Christ as submissive children, as compliant children. Verse 14, not fashioning ourselves together with the former lusts, the desires that had us derailed when we were ignorant of the things that exist on the other side in Jesus Christ, that can be brought to us in Jesus Christ. We're not called to be fashioned. We're not called to be driven by the lusts that emanate from a diseased condition of the soul. Are you there? In our natural selves, in our flesh, we exist in a condition that is physical, and in that state we are said to have a diseased condition, and out of that diseased condition comes these lusts that propel us, that motivate us to do the things that would fulfill those lusts. And Peter is saying that we are not to be driven by these lusts that emanate, that come from the diseased condition of our soul, but rather that we have this nature reversed to that of a spiritual nature, so that our moral depravity would be suppressed and be totally out of the picture. We are not to be driven by the lusts of the flesh. We are not to be driven, to be motivated. You know what to be motivated is? It means to be seeking to fulfill the lusts of the flesh. This Epithumia 1939 speaks of the individual, the single. It's always the one lust. It's always the one specific act of Jesus Christ. It is only one. It is that one that you have got to concentrate on. Concentrate all your natural and divine energy from Jesus Christ on, so that you can eliminate that active. You know what active means? It means a lust that is alive, a desire that is alive in you. It is burning you up and it is consuming you. Epithumia, the Greek word that was translated as lust, is the active and the individual, the one desire that results from the diseased condition of the soul. You see, you cannot take care, you cannot eliminate that active and individual desire that emanates from the diseased condition of your soul until you take care of the diseased condition of your soul. Once your nature is reversed, the diseased condition of your soul is eliminated, and hence that individual and active lust that is in you, that burning passion, is wiped away. If you have access to Jesus Christ, if Jesus Christ has shown you something that exists on the other side, that he desires for you to submit to, if you have access to that, then all your focus should be on bringing yourselves to bear, to function in that work that he has shown you. All your energy and your effort should be directed towards that goal. Who is here? Now, if you don't have access to Jesus Christ, then you're going to have to do it the hard way. You're going to have to do it the hard way, because you're going to have to muster up everything in your natural capabilities to deal with that moral depravity. And I'm telling you, you're going to fail. You are going to fail. The easy way is to submit to an individual act that Jesus has given you. Submit to that act. Submit to that function. Submit to that ministry that he desires for you to work in. So that when you submit to it, your nature is going to be reversed, which will eliminate the diseased condition of your soul. And when you eliminate the diseased condition of your soul, that active and individual loss is erased. It no longer exists. In verse 15, 1 Peter 1:15, but as he which has called you is holy, so be holy in all behavior. That word again in 391. It's not conversation. It's behavior, works. How can we be holy? How can we be pure? How can we be a people that are set apart for the purpose of God? Simple. By submitting to that individual work that Jesus Christ has shown you. That's all. That is how you become holy. That is how your condition, your nature is reversed when you submit to what Jesus Christ shows you. It's very simple. Submit to it and function in it so that you may become holy. Do not be motivated by your former lusts. Leave those lusts behind. And you will pay if you don't. Because you have access to Jesus Christ every Sunday. If you don't have access to him in the week. And you're going to pay. do not be motivated and driven by your former lusts, but on the other hand, be motivated and driven by that which Jesus Christ declares to you, so that you can be holy. This is the choice. Either you're going to submit to your lusts, or you are going to submit to what Jesus Christ declares to you. That is the choice, my brethren. Either you're going to submit to the lust that has you derailed, that has you mucked up, that has you messed up, that has your mind functioning in guilt, or you're going to do it the Lord's way by simply being holy because of your submission. That's the choice that is presented to us in 1 Peter. And it's very plain to me. It's very clear to me that that is the choice that is being presented to us today. Either we are going to function in the physical and be pitiable, want to be pitied, or we are going to function in the things that Jesus Christ shows us, and therefore have our vision remain clear and single, not plaited and braided and complex as if we were before a mist, but to have that mist and that fog and that veil be removed from before our eyes, so that we can clearly see the things that are there for us, who we are, what we do, and Jesus Christ functioning in his own ability. So that obviously that we can see Jesus Christ and see Jesus Christ doing the work that took place before the material creation regarding our original spiritual creation, who is still here. There is always a battle, my brethren. When you come to implement that which is good and profitable, agathos, when you come to implement that, there is always a struggle. Remember that Jesus was in the garden before the crucifixion. If Jesus had that struggle within him, who do you think you are to be above that standard? We are all going to have to struggle with ourselves to remain on course, but remain on course we must, because it is the will of God, and we are going to finish it. Ephesians 4 and 17. This I say therefore and testify in the Lord, that ye no longer walk as the heathen do, in the vanity of their mind, in the inutility, in the mataiotes, in the vanity, in the inutility, in the transientness. I want you to see this word, 31:53. Mataiotes, from 31:52, empty or profitless, vanity, vain, inutility, and transientness. Who sees the transientness? In the transientness of their minds. What does it mean? In the lack of spiritual ability of their minds. In the fact, you see, transientness speaks of the temporal, things that are passing quickly, like your life. that is passing quickly because you're wasting time doing natural things rather than seeking the will of God. Because when you see into eternity, the time expands. It becomes an eternity because you're in that eternity. You're experiencing it, and so time becomes expanded. Who is here? That we no longer walk as the heathen do in the militarism, in the inutility, in the uselessness of the natural mind as far as your salvation is concerned. Your mind is of no use to you when it comes to your spiritual salvation and your spiritual creation. When it comes to your salvation, your mind is no use to you. Who knows that? And the transientness of their minds. Our minds only function in the physical realm, in things that are physical, if our mind is not expanded. But he says, don't walk after that fashion. Over and above that, if you look at militarism one more time, you'll see it says, moral depravity. Who saw that one? We should no longer be walking in the moral depravity of our mind. That is what our mind can function in. That is what our emotions, our soul can function in, moral depravity. And he says, don't walk, don't behave, don't do the works that stem from the moral depravity of a natural mind. Once your mind is expanded, you're not functioning in that. And that is what Paul is saying. Because once you're in that state, that your mind is functioning in moral depravity, the result of it is in verse 18. Having the understanding darkened. If your mind is not expanded, your mind is darkened. Your mind is not clear. And you are pitiable. Who is there? Understanding is dianoia. It is deep thought. Your deep thoughts. And it properly means the mind or the disposition of the mind, the inclination of the mind, of the natural mind, that it is darkened. It is bad access from the spiritual ages. To have your mind and your understanding darkened means that your mind is not expanded. Who is here? It's very plain, isn't it? When you are living in darkness, it means that you have no longer any access to the spiritual ages and to Jesus Christ, who is the light. If you can't see Jesus, if you cannot receive a spiritual communication, which can only happen if you're in submission to Jesus Christ, if you cannot receive a spiritual communication, then you are living in darkness, like the false church are living in darkness, in symbols and in signs and ensigns and emblems and shadows. The church, we are not called to function in shadows and symbols. We're called to function in the thing that the symbols represent, because we are individually responsive to Jesus Christ and are doing His will, are doing those individual works that He shows us. If you're functioning in an unexpanded mind from verse 17, then your understanding is in darkness. Your understanding, your mind is in the dark. You don't know where God is. You don't know where Jesus Christ is. You don't know where to find Jesus Christ. Being alienated from the life of God Well, it's obvious that if you can't see the things that are on the other side, if you cannot see into the spiritual ages, then you're alienated from everything that is perfect and righteous and pure and holy that exists on the other side, because that's where it exists. Isn't that where life eternal is? Where the life of God is? It exists on the other side. And if your mind is in physical things, if your mind is unexpanded and your mind is darkened, can't see into things that are on the other side, then obviously you are separated from the glory of God. The life of God is another word for the glory of God that exists on the other side. You're separated, you're cut off. You don't have access. Who is there? You can put it the other way. When you're cut off from the glory of God, when you're cut off from the spiritual ages, your mind is darkened, your understanding is darkened, it is restricted to things that are physical. And because of that, you are functioning, your mind is seeped, it's functioning in moral depravity. Who is here? It's all very plain for us. Any of us, through the ignorance that is in them, that they're ignorant, they're in a state of lack of knowledge of the things that exist on the other side. And let me be blunt with you. Can I be frank? If you're not functioning, if your mind is not being exercised in the things that are on the other side, if your mind is not expanded because you're before things that are on the other side, then you are in fact ignorant. You are in ignorance according to the definition that is in the Bible, because you're not before those things that are there for you, and all you have to do is reach out and grab them. Because the blindness, now you have to see this to be convinced of it. I want you to go to the word that was translated from the Greek as blindness, 4457, because there is an additional element that is being introduced here. 4457. Stupidity or callousness, translated once as blindness and once as hardness. Who sees that? That was 4457. The Greek word was porosis. I want you to look at the lexical aids to get some additional depth and proof. Porosis, from puru, to harden. Used figuratively, hardness, callousness, which reflects the same hardness, or blindness. The question is, why are people ignorant? Why is it that people don't know Christ? Why is it that people do not have access to the spiritual ages? Because of the hardness of their heart, because of their stubbornness. It's right here. Who agrees with me on this one? Through the channel of the hardness of their own heart. Verse 19. Who being past feeling, you know what it is to be past feeling, you're numb. You're so hard that you are numb. I want you to look up that Greek word with me, please, in 524. Which says, to become apathetic. Who saw that? Which is a feeling or displaying little or no interest. little or no interest in what? In the things of God. Because you can't see the things that we're talking about. It generates in you a feeling of disregard. A feeling or a displaying of little or no interest in the things that are happening in church. That means, if you are not coming to church, it can be explained by this fact. Not meaning to tread on toes, but it is very clear here that if you can't see the things that are on the other side, and you're living in darkness, your mind is unexpanded, you can't understand what is being said, you're in ignorance, and all because of the hardness of your own heart, then you lose interest. You don't have interest in the things of God because they don't mean anything to you. They're not real. They're like, I'm talking something that is academic and theoretical that really does not exist. So therefore, our response to that is that we show little or no interest at all in the things of God. That can also be reflected in church. Have given themselves over to lasciviousness. Brother Sam didn't write Ephesians, you know. Lasciviousness, licentiousness, unrestrained sexuality, loose, wild, uncontrolled. This is what happens, my brethren, when we reject Jesus Christ. When we reject to submit to that individual specific work that He shows to us, what is left is our natural nature, our lusts. That is what is left to work all moral uncleanness and greediness. But you have not so learned Christ. This is not what you've been taught. This is not what you've been taught. You have not been taught that, neither in a natural way, nor directly by Jesus Christ, as it explicitly states in the verse. I wonder if you're there with me. Seeing ye have heard Him and have been taught by Him, as the truth is in Jesus Christ. What we see on the other side is a fact that is already finished, that exists in Jesus Christ. And the only way we can see it is by seeing Jesus Christ, so we can see ourselves. And He filters the light so that we can just see what He desires for us to see. Verse 22, ye put away being joined to the former behavior, not conversation, my brothers, of the old man, which is withered and shriveled, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. Our mind, coming back to the same point, our mind needs to be renewed in Jesus Christ. What is the requirement for getting our mind renewed? Is it to come in church and hear Brother Sam teach you? Does that renew your mind? Is it when we get into repeating the verses over and over in all forms and fashion, in duplication, does that renew your mind? Does that make you of a different mind? Does it refresh your mind Is your mind washed in the Word? Which is what they teach. Is that how your mind is renovated, how your mind is renewed? By physically hearing the expounding of the physical Word. Is that what it takes? What is necessary for the renewing of your mind? Everybody is teaching on it, but everybody is teaching it wrong. What is necessary for the renewing of your mind? Every time they say, renew your mind, have your mind renewed, all they're saying is, be submissive to Jesus Christ in the things that He directly reveals to you in an individual act. Be submissive to it and function in it, in that one work, so that you can continue to have access to the spiritual ages and the things that are there, so that you continue to come before these things, so that you continue to exercise your mind in the things that are there, which details to you who you are and what you do. That is how your mind is renewed. It has to be constantly renewed by constant submission to new works that come to us in the person of Jesus Christ. Your mind cannot be renewed any other way. I'm sorry to tell you, and how fortunate we are to have stumbled upon, not by accident, but by design, by Jesus Christ, that we have stumbled upon the meaning of the word in Isaiah for the expanded mind, to have a mind expanded. How fortunate we are, my brothers, so that we can understand this teaching tonight and this morning that has to do and is mainly on the expansion of the mind, because we are submissive to Jesus Christ. The gospel of Jesus Christ is very simple. It's direct to you. It is the individual work that Jesus desires for you to function in, that He shows you. All you have to do is reach out and grab it in the nature of Jesus Christ, not in the physical name of Jesus. Because your nature is reversed, because you have been connected to that work. That is what is required for you to have a renewed mind. It doesn't matter if your neighbor doesn't have a renewed mind. You can't go to Jesus and say, well, my neighbor didn't have a renewed mind. He's going to ask you about your renewed mind. Was your mind expanded by the things that He showed you? Because our mind cannot imagine, our eye cannot see, and our ear cannot hear the things that exist on the other side for us. The things that Jesus Christ has before the physical creation prepared for us. That idea, He didn't go to prepare a place for us. The place was already prepared before the physical creation. You just have to lock into it by locking into Jesus Christ, by hiding yourself in Jesus Christ, by being fused into Jesus Christ. What does it take? Submission to the spiritual revelation that comes to you in the declaration in the person of Jesus Christ. One name you need, one nature, Jesus Christ. That's all you need. You don't need Jesus and something. You need the living deliverer in the person of Jesus Christ, who can reach you only if you continue to be in submission to Him. That is all that it takes. To be in submission to Jesus Christ. That is what this teaching today boils down to. Please to be submissive. First be open and then be submissive to Jesus Christ. Be prepared to hear Him separate yourselves from the things that are of this world. On Sundays, just try Sundays. Try one day. Start by doing it one day. Don't do one thing that is physical on a Sunday. You know what that means? That means separate yourself from the television. Separate yourself from calypso. Separate yourself from things that are going to distract you from seeing the things that are spiritual. Do not think on anything other than Jesus Christ when it comes to Sunday. And if it takes you just reading the physical word without understanding it, then you've got to start somewhere. Start by giving your day to Jesus Christ. From sunset on Saturday to sunset and beyond on Sunday. Give Jesus Christ that 24-hour period and try him out. Try him. Prove him that he's really alive. But you've got to try. You can't just sit back and expect Brother Sam going to do it for you, because I cannot. I cannot do you. I cannot bring you into the kingdom. I can't do it for you. I cannot save you. You need Jesus Christ, but you have to do what is in your power. At least to indicate to Jesus Christ that you are of some interest, that you are interested in him. It means not picking up any book other than the Bible. It means not hearing any foul thing. It means dedicating yourself for a 24-hour period. Starve the physical and feed the spiritual. And see if Jesus will not mean more to you. See if you won't have more interest in Jesus then. And then allow Jesus to grow in your life from Sunday to Monday and then Monday to Tuesday. See if Jesus will not become more meaningful to you. Not in a physical sense, but in a real sense. Then you can grow in Jesus Christ. You can give Jesus more time. And when you do, you're going to see that you can accomplish everything in a split second. Because that is all it takes to be in touch and to experience the realm of eternity that does not end. It's like entering in a needle point on the other side and being expanded both left and right to horizons that go on and on and on. As of the passage of time. The bottom line is this. If you don't have a relationship with Jesus Christ, blame it on you. Don't blame it on the fact that we're a dozen or so people in the church. Don't blame it on the fact that the country is messed up. Don't blame it on the fact of Brother Sam teaching you. Don't blame it on the fact that Jesus is weak. But blame it on your own self. Because all these other things are not obstacles to Jesus coming into your life.